often ChatGPT will just give you broken, buggy, or just flat out wrong code, especially on its early attempts. But if you can identify the issue or even just tell it that it's wrong, it often will fix it and respond with working code. And that's exactly what happened here. And I'll show another example of this. We're going to make a little DVD animation thing where a logo bounces around the screen, and it got it wrong a bunch of times and then fixed it. So I was working on a project using an API, and this API supported batch upserts, where I could send off a whole bunch of data at once. So I had a whole bunch of data. I was using Python, and by the way, this is a paid API where every transaction costs some money. And I wanted to try and minimize the number of upserts that I was performing, but I had to figure out how to group my data into batches of the correct size without trying to upsert something that was too big or leaving space where I could have filled that space in the API call. So I started out with explaining that I was working in Python. I just want to tell you that because down here, I just keep going without ever saying I want this to be in Python. But I asked it to write a method that takes a generator, a Python generator, and a batch size, and returns lists of that size or fewer until the generator is exhausted. Take a generator and then split it up into lists of a certain size, this batch size parameter. So it gave me a function that seemed like it worked. It even gave me, an example of it and the output that I would expect, which is what I wanted, right? If I provide this generator to it, in a batch size of 3, it gives me lists of size 3, and then a final list of size 1, because there wasn't enough elements to fill a list up to that size of 3. So I'll just demonstrate this. And if you're not familiar with Python and generators, that's okay. Just know that this is the output I'm expecting. Basically, not an infinite loop. And it seemed to work. And that is where I made a mistake because I trusted this. I didn't even really bother looking at the code, which was my fault completely. Then I went off and tried to use this in the real world with the API that I was working with. And turns out there was an infinite loop. And I kept upserting a ton of data over and over and over and over. So here's another example. So this just keeps going and going and going, and this is not making API calls or anything. It's just a demonstration that, oh gosh, okay, let me interrupt the process. I got an infinite loop. So I responded with that exact fact. This gave me an infinite loop. And just like I said on the slides earlier, it often will just correct itself. You don't have to tell it exactly why it gives you an infinite loop. If you just tell it infinite loops, it often will fix itself. So it gave me a better version. So I'll just demonstrate this now. Oops, I don't have Python open. Oh dear. Okay, let me open up Python again. I'll paste this in and I'll rerun the line that was giving me an infinite loop right here. Now it no longer gives me an infinite loop and it works just fine. So don't be surprised if it gives you code that's completely incorrect. You'll see actually quite a few examples of that in this section. In the last video in this section, we build a very simple web application with Flask. It's a URL shortener, and it keeps using the wrong function and the wrong parameters for the SQL Alchemy library, and it keeps basically breaking. And then I call it out and say, hey, I'm getting an error, and then it corrects itself and says, oh, shoot, you have to call this within a specific context, or you can't call it with parameters. And it happens 2 or 3 times with the exact same one function call that it just gets caught up on. So it's often wrong at first, but if you call it out, you tell it there's a bug, it's wrong, it's an infinite loop, whatever, it often can fix itself. It's not a guarantee, but just know that as a developer, be careful with the code that it gives you and don't do what I did.